Good afternoon from here at the RCCG Jesus Embassy, Los Angeles in California, USA. You want to welcome you to the third class of this specially packaged leadership program that we have tagged the JELA Leadership Clinic. We believe that from the past two classes we have held, that is the art of leadership and public speaking, you have picked up some useful lessons that you're already applying in your various leadership contexts. Last class, we had public speaking, and today we are so glad to have you to join us for this third class, which is on decision making. My name is Bolaji Bakare, and I also have with me, co-facilitating with me, Sheyi Lawoyin. You will see her during the group discussion session. Let us pray. Our Father, once again, we are here today. We thank you for the past two classes, the art of leadership and public speaking. And we thank you for bringing us into this class today on decision making. Lord, you are the same God that took us through the last two classes. We're counting on you to help us today as well. Speak through your Son that you're going to use to teach us today, and help every one of us that even from this meeting today, we will receive blessings from you, and we receive skills and guidance and knowledge that will make us better at decision making. In Jesus' name, amen. So welcome to this third class on decision making. Our instructor today is someone that has 3 decades of experience working as a faculty, and he also working in multiple higher education administrative roles across the United States. And also during the course of his career, he veered into corporate work for about 6 years, working as a research and database analyst. He's a trained geomorphology hydrologist and has a PhD in leadership and higher education administration. He currently serves as the Senior Associate Provost and Accreditation Liaison Officer for California Lutheran University that is located in Thousand Oaks in California here. As part of his service in the ministry of God, working for God, he leads the Achievers Academy, that is a group in the RCCG JELA. That's a group that focuses on equipping members with the skills necessary for attaining the American dream. This is someone I call Double Prof. Please join me to welcome Dr. Taiwo Ande, who will be joining us virtually. So, Doctor, you're welcome. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I hope you all can hear me very clearly. Good afternoon, and it's a great pleasure to be here to lead a conversation of decision making. Let me share my screen with you so we can get started on time. All right, I hope you all can see my screen. If so, just raise your hand up. Let me be sure you can see my screen. Can you all see the screen? Yes, great. Thank you so much. So today we are going to be talking about decision making. Decision making is one of the most important topic for anyone, because our life is full of so many decisions that we have to make. Be it in your family, be it in the corporate world, be you in a leadership position, every day we make a decision one way or the other. And a good example is you made a decision to be here today to attend this program. So it took you some analysis, took you some information to ultimately make up your mind to be part of this discussion today. So what we want to do today is, in a very short period, is to walk you through some of the things that you really need to know in order to become a good decision maker. So let's get started by just, first of all, talking about the definition of what decision making is. Decision making is a process. It's a process of examining all possibilities, options, comparing them, and choosing the course of action. And Baker in 2001 also defined this as a series of steps that requires the input at different stages of processes, as well as processes for feedback. So in a nutshell, when you are talking about decision making, there are some key themes. You have possibilities. You have several options from which we are going to pick from. Okay, it requires you to process the various options that you have before you eventually settle on one. And then sometimes for your feedback, for your decision-making process, you really need to listen to other people. These are skill sets that are really very important for everyday living, because our lives are full of options, which we have to take decisions all the time. So if you have to take decisions, there are several factors that influences how you take the decision. Perception. How will people feel about the decision that I make? Has its way of playing into how we take decisions. What will be the impact of the decision on other people? The style, your style of leadership also speaks a lot about when you take decision. Some leaders are passive, some leaders, take time before they take decision. Some leaders are they find a way to be subtle in the way they take decisions. When it comes to decision making, it's also very important to know how important, how you want, priority becomes very critical. If you take decisions, you take some decisions because probably there's something that has to be done like yesterday. Then your judgment, your prior experiences, what do you know? What amount of information that you have? How do you call a judgment based on the information you have? It influences how you make your decision. Of course, you also think about within the lens of acceptability. If I make this decision, is it going to be acceptable to people? That plays into how you make decisions. And most importantly, your values, okay? Your values, what you are known with, what you've grown up with over the years. It influences how you ultimately come up with your decision. Goals, what do you want to accomplish by this decision, okay? And how do you situate the situation in such a way that it ultimately allows you to be able to get to your ultimate goal? Risk factor is another thing. Risk. If I take this decision, how much risk am I ready to take? Okay. Sometimes we always want to play it safe, so that you want to make sure that decisions you have not only are on how much risk you take on your end, but also what is the risk impact on the people that the decision is being implemented over. And of course, the resources that you have influences how much of an information that you have in order for you to take decision. And sometimes also the demand for that decision. Oh, we really need somebody to make a decision like yesterday. We really need this decision to be made. A lot of people are yearning for it. Therefore, it spurs you up to be able to make your decision very, very bad. So whenever you are making decisions, all of these factors play a lot of significant role. So let's look at three types of individuals when it comes to decision making, okay? Individuals, you could be an undecided decision maker. You could be a decided decision maker, and you can be very indecisive. These three things they are quite different from each other, okay? When you are undecided, you are open and not yet settled on a decision, okay? So you are a leader, your family, at your work, and you have a decision to make, but you have options on your table. You can't, you are not able to decide yet. You are working towards making a decision about which of these options that you want to take in terms of your decision. So you are considered as undecided. Now, if you are the decided individual, you are the one that really you are so certain in the decision that you are making. You are not ambiguous about it. It's very clear, it's unquestionable, you are undisputed, you know what you want, and you just go for it, all right? And the third part of it is the indecisiveness. If you are indecisive, this is someone who has trouble deciding on things or take a lot of time. You have all the options, you have all the information you need, but you are taking so much time to make up your mind about something. Now, this is more about the character trait when you are undecisive. You have all the information you need, you have all the different options, yet you can still not make up your mind. Now, is it bad to be in any of these three categories? No. Actually, you vacillate between all of these categories depending on the situation that you are dealing with. Okay, so it's not a sin or a crime to be in all of this. But I think ultimately, if you are undecided or indecisive, it could have potential implications on the future. So you just need to weigh how long you want to stay in each of these buckets. Ultimately, you want to be decided. So weigh how much you want to be undecided, how much you want to be undecisive before you ultimately make decision. The longer you stay on those two far ends, the more challenges you have in making decisions, and the more it affects the people you are making decisions over. All right. So let's talk about some of the decision-making process. There's this 6C that we always talk about when we discuss decision-making, the various stages of decision-making. The first step of decision-making is what we call the construct. When you talk about the construct, you are talking about understanding or having a clear picture of what decision you want to really make. This is about understanding the problem at hand and the need for that decision. This forms the bedrock of the decision-making process. Without you having a good construct of what decision you want to make, you are going to build every activity, every other C's that we are going to discuss on a faulty foundation. So that's why it's important for you to understand the construct, the problem you are trying to resolve with the decision that you are making. The second step is where you do the compilations of the requirements. What those things that have to be met? What are the data that you need to understand? Do you have all the facts related to the decision that you want to make? You cannot compile the list of requirements by memory. You must make sure you compile all the requirements, list of requirements that must be met within a decision. This is about really being sure if you have all the necessary information that will help you ultimately drive the decision that you are trying to make. The next C, which you call the collect phase, is when you collect information on alternatives that meets those requirements. Now, in every decision, we say decision making just because there are multiple alternatives. There is nothing you decide in life that doesn't have another option. There are always at least one or multiple options of a decision. If you decide to go and sleep, oh, I'm going to sleep. The alternative is I don't want to sleep. Okay, so you have to choose. I want to sleep. I don't want to sleep. I want to attend this program. I don't want to attend this program. Sometimes you have multiple options from you to pick from. So you have to be able to lay all the options on the table and be able to look at the requirements surrounding all the various alternatives or points that are there for you, so that you can ultimately be able to choose what works best for you. And in order for you to really pick what is best for you, the next step is for you to compare all the alternatives that you have for yourself. Weigh all the alternatives, what are the pros and cons of all of the alternatives. You can achieve this by conducting a very thorough evaluation of each of the alternatives. Then from there, you will now make a decision. You consider, you look at the options, the pros and cons. What if I do this, this is what's going to happen. If I don't do this, this is what's going to happen. And you make up your mind and say, okay, based on all of these things that I've done, I think I want to settle for this decision. Okay, so you consider what might go wrong factor for each of the alternatives. If I choose to go this direction, what might go wrong? If I go this the other direction, what might go wrong? Because those are the gains you are going to weigh because you make the decision. Now, I want you to always remember that for every decision that you make, there are consequences, okay? So it doesn't mean that when you make decisions, everybody must receive a positive side of that decision. So you have to be able to weigh what are the negative part and how much of the population does that negative part affect. And then the last C, which we call the commit side, is when you now devote your energy towards the implementation of whichever alternative that you eventually settle with. So you are committed to that decision. You are looking at how do you make sure that decision is implemented the right way. You want to look at your check and balances. You want to look at some of the goals, how your decision is aligned with the goals that you identified earlier on. Evaluation becomes very critical. Evaluating yourself, evaluating your decisions as you move along the way. All right. I want to also share with you some traps that you must try to avoid when you are trying to take decisions. First one, fear and biases, okay? Leave your fears and biases behind. Decisions that are influenced by fears and biases are never impactful. If you just feel like you don't want to take a decision because you don't want to offend somebody, or you don't want to take a decision, or you are taking a decision because you are influenced by somebody else, definitely those decisions are not going to be impactful. You should want to be careful to avoid fears and biases when you do that. Taking decisions outside your authority is another big deal. Keep to your lane. Do not take decisions outside your boundary, because if you go outside your boundary to take decisions, you will never be successful. Okay? Know your limits of authority. Do not take decisions that are outside the scope of your authority to be successful. Also, you need to act, acting with little inaccurate or wrong information is a recipe for disaster. Anytime you have to make a decision, you must equip yourself with information, not only just information, but information that are accurate and that are factful, okay? Do not sell yourself into fake information and base your decision on fake information, because ultimately people are going to be affected with the decision. You also must avoid overlooking viable options. Some of us, when we make decisions, it's just like, oh, my father has done it this way before, the former CEO has done it this way before, therefore I want to do it this way. No, that's not how you work with decisions. You work with decisions based on examining all the multiple opportunities or options that are in front of you before you make up your mind on what to do. Then another thing that a lot of leaders do face, even in our homes, we face that all the time. We try so hard to play safe, okay? We want to make sure when we make decisions, we are wondering who is going to be feeling bad about it. How does we feel about it? How do you make sure that nobody is crying when this decision is made? Look, just know this. Every decision has consequences, positive and negative. Not everybody will be on the same page for every decision that you make. So stop trying hard to play safe. As long as you feel you have your information and you are making decisions that are based on facts, you should be able to defend it and move forward with it. Now, a big piece of trap that we also fall to in decision making is failure to reach a decision. Sometimes you just say and being indecisive. Failure to reach a decision leads to failure to make progress, okay? Better make a wrong decision, right, than not to make a decision at all. You got to try to make decisions. When it's wrong, you learn from it and you move on. Now, getting trapped in little stuff, I want to mention that pretty very fast too. Don't be thrown out on little things that will stop you from making decisions. I want to get everything 100% right. Let me tell you, there's no decision that you make that will be 100% receptive to everybody. So you need to prioritize and make sure that whatever decisions you make, you are moving with the right information and not get trapped in little stuff. Failure to declare results expected from a decision. Even when you take decisions, the next step is for you to share your result, evaluate the impacts of the results of your evaluation of your decision, so that people can really know how the decision is making a lot of impact in them. And also refusing to acknowledge when wrong decision is made. There is nothing wrong in making decision. What is wrong is not making a decision itself is wrong, okay? If you make a decision and it's wrong, you learn from it and you become better the next time, okay? All indecisive leaders are leaders that never make progress, okay? If anybody sees you as a leader that is indecisive, they see you as weak. So you must make a decision. All right. In conclusion, because I want you all to be able to have some great conversation around this, in conclusion, I want to state this. A decision is only as good as the data that informed it, okay? Very, very important. If your data is not good enough, your decision will not be good. If you not take time to learn about the situation you want to make a decision before you make it, that decision will not be good. Do not be hasteful in taking decision. Make sure you have all the information you need before you make a decision. A decision is only as good as it is an informed one. If you take a decision that people are not informed about the decision you make, it is as disastrous as not even taking a decision. What do we mean? You take a decision, it is your responsibility to be able to share that decision and make sure people understand the decision that you throw out there. Without you doing that effectively and you let people interpret your decision the way they want, that is a recipe for disaster. A decision is only as good as the system which exists to implement it. So you have to consider the community, the society, the organization in which you are throwing the decision in there. Because understand, decisions does not operate in a vacuum. Decision operates within the culture of the area where you are implementing that decision, okay? So when you have your decisions out there, you have to think about them within the context of the culture or the organization where you are, so that you look at the possibility or the propensity of that particular decision being successful and impactful on the people that are there. Very, very critical. A decision is only good if you have the means to implement it, okay? Yes, it's good to be ambitious. It's good to have good decisions, but ask yourself, this decision I'm making, do you have the resources to implement them? Is it just going to be another decision that we just drop out in the pool of water without having any impact just because I am not ready or I don't have all the necessary ingredients, enabling environment to make that decision very successful? You need to consider your environment. You need to consider that you have all the stakes to implement it. And finally, a decision is only good if others understand it and what it means. This is all about communication. This is about how do you put your decisions out there for people to understand. And that is why it's very critical that the way you communicate your decision makes a lot of difference, okay? Remember, communications is about two-way thing. You give out information, the person receives it, and when the person receives it, they show you signs that they have understood what you said. If you are just dishing out a decision and people there are not receptive and do not understand what you're saying, it's not going to work. That decision will not be impactful. So, in closing, all I will tell you is this. All our lives is filled with a lot of decision-making process, okay? In fact, every day we make decisions. A very simple one is the decision to put on the clothes you are wearing right now. You have thousands of clothes in your wardrobe, but you chose to wear the one you want. That is a decision. And I know it's not that you just went in there and just picked that particular one. It takes you analyzing and looking at a lot of factors before you do that. So we are going to be continuously looking at decision making in everything that we do in life. Okay. However, let us always remember that whatever the decisions we make impact others. All right. Therefore, you must understand the environment, the cultural area where you are putting those decisions are. Consider the people that are going to be impacted by those decisions and make sure that you are really consistent and transparent with your decision progress. And if you do that successfully, you have the ability to change the world and your immediate environment. So let me stop there so that we can have opportunities to have more conversation around it in group work. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ande, for that really important topic and leading on that. We have to make decisions every day, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. But when we make decisions, we're faced with what they call dilemmas. Okay. Dr. Ande spoke to selecting between competing options. So there's some that are really simple. You just gained 20 pounds. Your doctor said you can't eat any more sweets or carbs for a while. And you go to a party and you see chocolate cake, and you have to make a decision between either eating that chocolate cake or not eating that chocolate cake. And making that decision depends on multiple factors. So as an individual, Dr. Ande spoke to this as well. As an individual, you look at the context in which you're making this decision. How would this impact me? How would this impact my health journey? What are my goals? I'm really hungry. I need to eat this, and it's right in front of me. So I may need to mute. And then there are what they call ethical dilemmas, okay? This is when you have to select between two options, when neither option is particularly neither option is particularly the greatest to make, but you have to make a decision very, very quickly. So we're going to break out as we normally do. And we're going to talk in our teams about a scenario. And I'm going to read the scenario to you. You might want to take some notes so that you can discuss this in your group. So here's a scenario that we want each group to review and discuss. You're at the mall with your best friend, okay? You go into your favorite store. Your best friend picks up a really cool shirt and quickly stuffs it in her book bag. So no one's looking, and she stuffs it into her bag. She tells you that she does it all the time and she has never gotten caught. So what does it hurt? You had been looking at this shirt for a couple of weeks. This particular shirt at this store, you've been looking at it, your best friend's been doing it and getting away with it. And now you see this really nice shirt. It's expensive, you can't afford it, but it's beautiful, you want to wear it, and your best friend is your best friend. What do you do? What do you do in a situation like that? Okay, so we're going to break out into groups and discuss this. Right, I hope everyone had a good time discussing this. Funny enough, this happened to me, well, not with a best friend, but this happened to me with a classmate. Let me see, about 20-something so years ago. We went into a convenience store, and this was a person who, another professional, we're in DC, another professional, we walked into a store together after class, and I forget what I was going in for, but I went in for something, and then she walked around, and from the corner of my eye, I saw her take a candy bar and sneak it into her coat. And I'm like, I know you can afford this. Why? I couldn't. My reaction and my only option was to stay away from her. That was it. I didn't even try to and I just kept giving her the side eye because I just couldn't believe that happened at the time. But I know now I'd probably make a different choice. But I'm interested in getting feedback from the group about what you would do when faced with the dilemma presented in this scenario. Any takers?
Oh. I think I suggest that Dr. Ande, summarizes the various discussions for different groups just to save time.
All right, in our own group, we had this conversation around that scenario and the application of the 6 C's on how you will deal with that situation, okay? This is a situation where you have a friend who you are close friends who got to the mall which both of you loved, and she stole a shirt, stuck it in her shirt, in her bag. At that point, first of all, you want to make a decision. What is the decision you really want to get out of this? What exactly is important for you to create a picture of what you want to decide? In this case, are you first of all deciding this is the right thing for that your friend to do? Or is this a situation where you want to say, this is the wrong thing, but this is not where we correct it? Okay? Or is it a decision you want to make that this is the wrong thing? Your friend should still go with it, but we can talk about it later. Or I want to really report my friend to the authority right there. So you look at all of the important, that's the construct stage of a decision making, where you look at all of these decisions, the ultimate decision you want to arrive at. Then we reflected it on the compile stage of decision making, where you gather all the requirements. You look at have all of the information related to that scenario. In this particular scenario, for example, okay, we are looking at, okay, this your friend. Does she really have the money? Has she been in trouble before? Because if you report her to the authority when she's already in trouble, that we call it compound the issue. We talk about, okay, do I really want to ask her to take the thing out of the bag right there and we go outside the hall to discuss it? Okay, what is the implication of what I do right now on the future of my friend? Okay, all of these requirements, you pull them together, you compile all of them, okay? When you compile all of them, then you now use that to form the scenarios of the alternatives decisions that you are going to make, okay? Is it, am I going to just report her right there? That's one decision. Call her, report her to the authority right there. Another decision is, you know, be an accomplice, both of you go out with the thing together and I'll go and deal with it at home. Another decision will be, another option will be, let her take it, I will pretend I didn't see it. Another decision will be like, okay, you take it at home and, you know, when we get home, okay, I will sit her down and talk through it and then she returns it back. So you now place all of these alternatives. That's the collection stage. You take all these alternatives and start putting the pros and cons on all of them. If I report her to the authority, does that messes up her credit or her history? Is that the right thing for me to do? Okay. If I decide to take her out of the place first with the clothes in their bag and go take it home and not ask her to return the clothes, am I reinforcing the bad habit? You understand? You look at the pros and cons of that. Okay. If I decide ultimately to not address that situation there, get home and do it later, ask yourself, would that be impactful? That kind of, so you look at the pros and cons of all the alternatives. That's the collection and the comparison stage. Then you look at them based on all of this. You now go to the next bit, which is the consider, where you nail down on one that makes much sense to you. So when you pick the one that lay down on one, that's where you consider and you gestation some other alternatives and focus on one. That decision that you now make is now what you push forward, and then make sure you commit to it, evaluate it, make sure it makes the impact that you expected of it, and make sure that you ultimately get to the clear picture you identified at the construct stage. That is how you look through that particular scenario.
Thank you. So Dr. Ande, the question in my mind is, what would you do in a scenario like this?
I think for me, if you ask me what I'm going to do, what I will do may not be what you really want to do, right? Okay, I will set some form of preposition, like my friend is poor. He's never had that type of shouting. She's never had that type of shouting in her life. She's been dying to have that shirt for a long time. So she finally had an opportunity to steal it, stock it in her bag, and go. Two things I would do. In my own situation, what I would do is, if I saw her doing that, I would probably pay for it. And then we go do call to Jesus meeting at home and talk to her about, no, this is not the right way to do it. Okay? But if it's a friend that doesn't have all those things that I've mentioned, and you know that in this world where you have so many cameras showing around, right, in all these malls, right? What you might want to also do is that immediately you find out that that clothes is there right there, you pull it out of the bag, put it back on the shelf or whatever, and you drag your friend and move away and continue to be watchful on your friend till you get out. Okay, that's another way. So let me let every other person have some comments on this. But the way we are all going to treat this is going to be different depending on the type of friend you have, depending on the circumstances that this happened, depending on, you know, even the environment where all of this is taking place.
Any other input, feedback before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I have a few comments to make. This particular scenario is very interesting, but I know that there is something that's inbuilt in human beings, that the instinct for survival. You know, because we are able to analyze this thing academically, we can go on to furnish so many solutions. But for me, if that happens, it's a scenario I never expected. The first thing that will come to my mind is, Dr. Niramafora, protect yourself. I'm just going to walk out of the place straight ahead. And because I know cameras are looking and everything, any kind of conversation that will not make camera understand what we are saying to each other may be interpreted to mean that maybe we are in agreement. So I'm just going to walk out straight and go home. When I get home now, I may have now time to reason, to sit down. So if we see my friend, I will ask him, what's your problem? That's when I will go to stage of trying to solve this problem for him. So there are certain decisions that come automatically from self-defense. There are solutions that will come automatically from protecting your own employment situation, if it's an office environment. Okay, my colleague is doing this, what do I do? If I do not do something or say something, it may jeopardize my own integrity in the organization. Then we now sit down to analyze all those things. But I want to thank Dr. Wande for the way he has analyzed decision making in such a short moment. There's so many useful points. But the good thing is that if you don't practice decision making professionally, you may not end up becoming a good decision maker. I rest my case.
This was really great.
So,
Does someone have something to say? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. In our group, we had another option that you turn a blind eye and pray that the Holy Spirit will convict the person. So you pray for the person.
Well, that's easy. But it is an option, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's dilemmas. Like, I have to make a decision now. I mean, like the example I gave, I was like, I can't be a part of this. And it goes along the lines of what Dr. Faforo was saying as well. Like, I don't know this person. I don't know what they're up to. I need to create a distance here, right? I'd probably do things differently now. I would still be shocked if it happened, but knowing who I am now, I would have a conversation with this person. Because I'm always interested in finding out why people do what they do. And I would want her to know that I did see her do it. But yeah, this has been great. I think analyzing the decision-making process is really important. And sometimes we may not factor in the analysis when we have to make a decision in 2 seconds. But I think that it's an important exercise to use every day. I mean, in every decision we have to make, whether it's quick, short-term, long-term decisions, it's good to really think through options and think of how their impact, and then think of the consequences of those decisions. Okay, so thank you again for a very good lunch and learn. I will now turn this over to Balaji to wrap this up.
Thank you so much, Ei. And thank you everyone for your active participation. It's such a wonderful discussion session we have had. And that's the beauty of this JELA Leadership Clinic. It's not just about reading out theories. It's also about how those theories are practicalized. You know, the 6 C's. The 6 C's look like theories, but when it was demonstrated, especially by the instructor, how it will be used, shows the practicality of what it means to take decision. And I want to believe that we have learned something today, especially these 6 C's, how we can practice it from time to time, like Dr. Ade said earlier on, that such that it's not something we begin to think, oh, you say, okay, what is C construct? What is this? No, it becomes automatic that you can use that process to make wise decisions. I pray that God will help us to do so in Jesus' name. We would like to invite you to our 4th class. We have 3 more classes to go for this JELA Leadership Clinic. So we'd like to invite you to our 4th class. We know that you have been blessed with these 3 classes we have had. So we're expecting that you'll be so excited also to join us for the 4th class. And this 4th class, we're going to be focusing on effective use of body language. I tell you, this is a class you don't want to miss, because the use of nonverbal communication is very essential as a leader. And therefore, I would want you to put down in the calendar to join us again in October, the 2nd Wednesday of October, that is Wednesday, 11th October, 2023. Same time, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern USA, 7 p.m. GMT, and those joining from Nigeria, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. We look forward to your participation again, and we believe that when you come to learn about effective use of body language, you will not be the same again when it comes to being a leader that use nonverbal communication. Goodbye, and God bless you. Let's clap for ourselves that we've done so wonderfully today, and we look forward to the next class. God bless you mightily in Jesus' name.